Hello YouTube, this is Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review. Now I have one that's a bit more random for you today. This is Hite, which comes to you from South Korea. Now I'll just take you through the history of this brewery for those of you who are interested, but if you're simply interested in the tasting, then feel free to fast forward towards the last few minutes of the video. But anyway, just to get on to this before I get on to the history, you'll hear me talking a lot in this video review about soju, and this word in Korean literally means burnt liquor, and it's an alcoholic drink that's native to Korea. It's usually made from rice, wheat and barley, although more modern versions have used different sources of starch, potatoes, sweet potatoes and tapioca apparently. But anyway, now the company is today called the HiteJinro, so it composes two major companies, but the history of the brewery goes back to 1924 and the establishment of the Jincheon Liquor Company in Yongang, Pyeongnam, where they began to produce the Jinro soju. Now the company was 100% Korean owned, and it topped the soju market in the country, with the Jinro soju essentially establishing itself as the national soju in the 1970s. But in 1933 there was also the foundation of the Chosun Beer Brewing Company, which is obviously very important to the history of this beer. Now the website goes on to talk about a public offering of Jinro and Chosun beer in 1973, and then they talk about investment, so I'm assuming that this means there was a shareholding operation during this time, but this allowed them to invest heavily in the infrastructure of the brewery. And the Chosun beer also opened a new factory as a result of this in Masan in 1978, and then another in Jeonju in 1989, and the company also won 6 gold medals at the 11th International Wine and Spirits Fair and 8 gold medals at the 18th Mons selection in 1980. So the brewery was doing very well at the dawn of the 80s. Now in 1991, Chosun Beer inaugurated their new chairman Park Man-dook, and in 1993 they launched this beer, the Hite, which is Korea's first non-thermally processed beer, and apparently it's also Korea's most popular beer as well. But 1993 also marked the establishment of the High Scott Whisky division of the company, and they launched their Lancelot Whisky in 2002. Now in 1996 Hite established themselves as the #1 brewer in Korea, and the following year they constructed the Gangwon factory. Now the Chosun Beer Company was officially renamed the Hite Beer Company in 1998, and they inaugurated President Yoon Jong-won and Chairman Park Man-dook in 2000. Now 2002 was actually a very big year for Hite, and they launched their Prime beer, a 100% barley beer, and in this particular year they also topped the 10 million bottle brewing mark, so a very big year for them, 2002 indeed. But I'll talk about the different divisions of the company now, because we're getting close to the part where I said the companies merge. But between 1990 and 2004, Jinro launched a 25 degree soju, Jinro Gold in 1993, followed in 1996 by the oak barreled soju and a bamboo filtration soju, and they also launched a plum brandy which is called Mewasu. And they also celebrated their 80th anniversary in 2003. I'll need to try some of these Jinro things. They actually sound really nice, but no doubt if I go to Korea I'll end up absolutely hammered, because I've heard that soju is actually very good, so I'll need to give that a try. I'm getting quite excited about that, I have to say. But anyway, 2005 marked the merging of the Hite and Jinro companies to form the HiteJinro group. Now since 2005 the Jinro division has launched several new sojus, Camisole Fresh, the Excellent Jinro, which is a 100% rice distilled soju, and apparently this won a 2010 Monde Selection Grand Prize, and they also launched another one called Favourite, as well as launching a wine called Donggyeolbogam Bokbunja. Sorry if my pronunciation again is a bit wrong there. But in 2007 the High Scott division launched their Kingdom 12 and 17-year whiskies, and there's also a 21 and 30-year variety, but these won prizes at the Monde Selection in Belgium in 2012. I'll need to try these. I quite enjoy my whiskies as well, but no doubt being Scottish I'll always probably think the Scottish whiskies are better, I have to say. But in 2007 Hite launched their Fibre Beer S, which was Korea's first diet beer, and also introduced 2 new presidents, Kim Ji-hyun and Ha Jin-hong. And a year later, they were also declared as the official sponsor of the Korea national football team. And in 2009, they expanded their Jeonju factory. And then the last point that was noted in the history was in 2010 when they launched their beer, Dry Finish D beer. So interestingly, you can see going through this company, this beer comes from a very, very big company in Korea who produce a lot of different things. I'm interested to try their whiskies and their sojus actually. When you go to another country, you've always got to try the local things, and I have to admit I actually really want to go to Korea and Japan and see what all the different culture and things like. It should be an interesting trip. But also another interesting point about the Hite company is that they also have a marketing campaign in the US for the soju, particularly fronted by PSY, who did the, you can either call it famous or infamous Gangnam Style song. But anyway, let's get on to the tasting of this beer. I'll just let you have a little look at the bottle art. I'll just bring my camera up again to make sure you're seeing that. As you can see, it's actually a fairly kind of stylish label. A lot of sort of Korean and Chinese beers tend to have a, you would see what I mean if you could see different things. They have a fairly similar style of label. You can see on the little top thing there, it says 1933, which is obviously the Chosun Brewery Foundation date. You can see on the cap there, it's very simple, just says Hite Ice Point. But anyway, let's get this guy open and give him a taste. Hopefully this beer doesn't go mental. I'm always a bit wary when it comes to the beers that have travelled a bit of a distance, because they tend to go mental just from being transported so far. But this is a 4.5% pale lager apparently. So we'll just get this guy out and get him tasted. I'm quite excited to try this one. I always like trying beers from different countries. I had another wee thing to say about the distillation process of this beer actually. There was an interesting wee point I found on the website. But this beer apparently is brewed from rice with an ice point filtration system, and they say that this apparently delivers the purest product at below freezing temperatures. And I said as well in the review that this is the first non-thermally treated beer. So it should be quite interesting to try. But as you can see, just from me pouring that, the head of the beer is starting to dissipate already. It had a kind of, it was more of a bubbly head that was on that than a frothy head, if you like, but that's kind of disappeared to a very, very sort of thin layer at all. This isn't going to leave much lacing in the glass. You can see the colour is a very sort of golden strawy colour. There's very, very little in the way of bubbles. There's no point shining that up to the light. You can see fine what the colour is. In terms of the aroma, there's some light malts in there, some faint grain actually. I'm getting some of the rice as well. It kind of, this is probably going to be a sort of it's a mass-produced lager, so it's not going to be anything like much of the craft beers that I've reviewed already. But yeah, it has, typical of a mass-produced beer, it doesn't have that strong a nose. There's kind of faint hint, as I say, light malts, faint hints of grain and some rice in there. Yeah, kind of, first thing that's coming is the light malts. It's got a slight sweetness to it. It's quite an odd taste, this one, I have to say. There's a faint hint of rice and corn there. There's a flavour in there that I can't particularly place, I have to say. It's quite unusual. In terms of the mouth, it's actually very, very light. The carbonation, I think, is quite... It's quite, I have to say, the carbonation is quite, makes it quite zippy on the tongue, I would say. It's okay, I mean, it's okay, it's not, in terms of the style, it's a rather odd tasting mass-produced lager, I would have to say. It doesn't, I have to say, I've had better mass-produced lagers than this one. I have to say, yeah, the main flavours are the kind of light malts. When you first take this in, it feels quite zippy on the tongue. You're getting the light malts there, and you're getting the faint hint of grain and some rice. The aftertaste is very, very weak. It's mainly a little bit of corn and graininess. There's maybe just a slight hint of breadiness to this one, I would say. But as I said, that sort of zippy feel on the tongue kind of makes it quite smooth, I have to say. It has a little bit of a a wet mouthfeel. You can feel it going down into your stomach. It's quite. This is an unusual one, I have to say. It's quite. It's, as I say, it's very unusual. There's a flavour in there that I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's a fairly drinkable beer. I mean, as I say, it has that little sort of zippiness to the tongue, which you'll take that in on the first time and be like, oh, what's that? And it does have an unusual flavour to it, but you can taste a bit of the rice in this, and that rice is present in the aftertaste, which is quite nice. The nicest thing about this beer, I would say, is the aftertaste. It's unusual for a mass-produced lager. It's a kind of very odd tasting one. But it's quite, as I say, it's quite smooth and crisp, but it's got a kind of fairly dry finish that leaves that sort of ricey and grainy taste on the mouth. But anyway, I hope this particular beer review has been informative. I've got quite a few more random international beers that I'll go through at a later stage, as well as some more Scottish craft beers. I've been finding that apparently these videos, the Scottish craft beer videos, have been quite enjoyed by people. But anyway, thanks for watching my beer reviews again. I'll be back soon with another couple. I also will need to film another few in advance because I've got exam period coming up, so I'll film a few in advance and then put these up, so there'll still be videos coming to you daily. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please let me know your own thoughts on this beer if you've had it. And thanks for watching again. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that usual jazz. And share the videos with your friends as well. And I shall catch you soon. Cheers.